out of here.
This is Past the Rock.
False start, second quarter, something, basketball. We had some technical issues, and that's my fault. Sorry, guys.
Patrick, you got us off to a strong lead in the first. It's time for me to extend
and I
that.
Immediately derailed it in the second.
Look, you might have gotten us off to a little bit of a tough start to the second, but we're here nonetheless. We still got plenty of time to get the ship right before halftime. NBA playoffs are here. The Final Four of basketball is now here. We have two teams that we already knew were going to be here last time we talked, in the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Indiana Pacers. We had two teams that needed to claim that territory in either the Knicks or the Celtics, or the Thunder and the Nuggets. The Knicks went and finished off the Celtics in 6. Of course, Jason Tatum I believe Jason Tatum had just announced the Achilles tear by the time we were recording last week.
Yeah.
He'll be done for 2 years, more or less.
So tough.
It obviously would have still been the Knicks up 3-1 in that series regardless. There was a great showing in Boston by the other guys. Luke Cornett potentially earning himself quite a bit of money in the offseason. Otherwise, they went back to New York. The Knicks handled business in a quite dominant fashion. We love to see that for the Knicks fans. I think that part of what we were talking about in our little false start was just the history of the Knicks, how the 90s, they were one of the best teams to be there. They couldn't quite get there. They fell off very hard for a lot of reasons that I don't think Knicks fans, it's plenty fun to watch. The secret base timeline breakdown of the destruction of the Knicks. But it lasted basically 30 years. I mean, Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire kind of got that thing looking nice for a second, but it
punched some glass.
didn't go well forever. Yeah, and the injuries were always probably coming, and the way they had to trade for Carmelo, unfortunately, put them in a bad spot to build around those guys too. So ultimately, that Knicks team didn't work, and of course, Linsanity was a part of that. And there just hasn't been what you wanted. This all started to shift, obviously, with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson coming from the Dallas Mavericks, where he should have been traded from the Dallas Mavericks. I had been saying this for a while. A lot of people have been saying this for a while. The Mavericks even admitted that they had no desire to move forward with him. Yet everyone that had watched basketball was like, hey, this guy's actually a commodity. Like, I don't know how good he is. No one predicted him to be what he's become. But at the same time,
it's like they forgot that Utah Jazz series where Luka was out and he was carrying the team.
And I think that was
like
really
they made up their mind before then.
Well, that was
the change it, yeah.
And that was the situation in that case. I believe they had already basically burned that bridge by the time that happened.
They screwed up on his rookie contract by giving the whole 5th year thing.
And then he also wanted to take less money, and again he would have been flipped probably to New York, where you would have gotten some sort of assets. Who knows what that actually turns out? Obviously, we know what happened to Luka Doncic era. It is what it is ultimately at this point. But Jalen Brunson is now, frankly, the best player on a team that might be the favorite to win the championship. So that's pretty crazy. Definitely didn't think that we would have got there.
A guy on some national syndicated betting show on Saturday morning told me to put my money on the Pacers to win the whole thing.
I don't think that that's a good bet. I think if I had to power rank the Pacers, maybe 3 out of the 4 teams we have left.
Interesting.
And that's really a 3 and a 4 kind of back and forth, I would say. Yeah, with Minnesota. Because Minnesota on a good day, I might put as 1. Minnesota on most days, though, I definitely put as 3 or 4. But yeah, so the Knicks beat the Celtics. On the other side of this, the Thunder and the Nuggets had to finish out their series. That one was unfortunate because it looked like we were going to have a really amazing Game 7. We were all excited for Game 7. It was the only Game 7 of that round.
Is that series why they waited so long to make the MVP announcement?
We will discuss that in a second, but I believe the answer is no. So getting to just a couple of quick notes in what happened in this series. Aaron Gordon, most importantly, saved this series for them and then tore his hamstring, essentially. What ended up resulting was the the Nuggets tying the series, making it look fun, everyone speculating on whether Aaron Gordon would play, us finding out the day before the game that he should be sidelined for a month to recover for this, all the way to the point where about 15 minutes before the game, he goes, I'm playing, and then played the game. It looked great to start. The Nuggets looked like they had something going for them. And then just as quickly as their avalanche had started, it was over, and they were getting old man dog walked straight out of the door by a younger, faster, and, at this point, more talented team. Who knows what the Nuggets' future holds? I thought they did a pretty damn good job of scrapping together a team that fired its coach and its GM a week before the season. But ultimately, we will move on without Nikola Jokic. And into your question about the MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the Oklahoma City Thunder's best player, becomes the 7th straight non-American player to win the MVP. He did it in a landslide, by the way. It was the voting was quite heavily in his favor. I don't know how much different it was than other votes, but it was quite a decisive victory. So I don't think that they were waiting in particular. I don't really know why. I don't think anybody has that answer. Usually Adam Silver has to do a press conference whenever the final starts. And so I am almost 100% sure that question will be asked. And so we'll probably get a better answer then. Ultimately, the best thing I could figure out when I did a little diving was the Dan Le Batard show. Amin Al-Hassan, who's worked in the NBA, been around the NBA for a while. Yeah. He kind of had some commentary that I thought was useful here, where he mentioned 1998 was the last time that the conference finals was whenever they announced this award. He noted previous to that was the standard. The MVP usually was on one of the 4 best teams, and they usually gave that out in the conference finals. This infamously was changed for a couple of reasons, right? So this is the story of Hakeem Olajuwon destroying David Robinson prior to Tim Duncan, obviously. They gave Tim Robinson. They gave David Robinson the MVP, and then Hakeem Olajuwon told Kenny Smith, "That's my trophy," and proceeded to be quite nasty in that game to David Robinson, as he very much often was. David Robinson, talented player, but the skill level for David Robinson compared to Hakeem Olajuwon was palpable. And I think it was fun for him to get Tim Duncan, because it was almost like, I have got another you now. And it was fun. It was like, I'm going to throw you at you now, bitch. Conference finals is usually what they do. Maybe they've gone back to this. Of course, I don't think Dirk was the only one, but Dirk is the most infamous one.
To win it after getting eliminated?
To win it after getting kicked out. There's no way he's the only one in that time span.
No.
And I don't know when they started doing it early either. I guess it would be, I would look at 2008 as probably being the first year, if so. Would that be LeBron, I think, was the 08 MVP? Or Kobe? So, that would be.
Okay. Embiid. Jokic. Oh, wait, this is just MVPs that didn't reach the conference finals. Okay. Which would fit that, right? Yeah.
Well, but when did it start? Yeah, I don't know because it's like, when did they do this? Is it just 2008? Was it that simple? The year after the Dirk incident, or did they wait a couple years before they did it? I don't remember. But yeah, so maybe they're just returning this to the norm. I mean, I think the MVP has basically gone that way. I think the Sixers, I guess you said the Sixers didn't make it that far. That tracks out. Otherwise, it's been a fairly good run of MVP converting to the final 4 teams. The next test up will be the Wolves. Game 1 was not the best game ever. Plenty to complain about in that regard.
Sorry, that's not easy to find that answer quickly.
That's okay. If you do, let me know. I knew it was going to be kind of tricky. So if you do, awesome. The game one wasn't awesome. Wasn't exactly the game NBA fans are going to cheer home about. I mean, Oklahoma City, I'm sure they're enjoying their day, and I don't mean to shit on their parade. I think the Shea winning the MVP today is quite funny on top of it all. He's a talented player. He's really, really good. He's deserving of an MVP. At the same time, I think it's fair to say the foul grifting is quite annoying. And I'm not as upset at Shea at doing it as much as I am frustrated by the NBA referees. Last night, there was just a lot of them. There were so many that they even got one reviewed and called it back. And they were still pulling it out. I mean, Jaden McDaniels fouled out. That's essential. That could be the Minnesota Timberwolves' third best player when you think about his role on that team. And if he can't really be trusted to get one-on-one defensive possessions regularly because they're going to essentially call a foul every time Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, this was really atrocious, guys. Like, I don't know if y'all saw any of these. He was leading with forearms. Like, he wasn't full pushing off, but he was initiating contact almost every time these fouls were called. I mean, this was bad. And I'm hopeful that the NBA just sort of says, hey, let's check this. This can't be the series. I think the Thunder will still win the series without it. Like, if it makes Thunder fans feel any better, I thought the Minnesota Timberwolves did a ton of things that weren't conducive to winning, okay? And I thought that was more important to the game one result than ultimately what was happening with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's free throws. I just thought we can't overlook it either. This was really bad. Like, I think all fans of basketball.
It could be annoying and not be what changed the game.
Yeah, I mean, well, but it didn't. I don't think it changed game one, but I could easily seeing it change another one of these games if this continues to be a thing. Because what happened in game one, Minnesota came out flat. They came out playing very, very 90s basketball, which is what this team is kind of built for. They're a clunky offense. And there's a lot of back to the basket. Like all the Minnesota Timberwolves, all of them just love dribbling with their back to the basket. This couldn't be a dumber strategy with a young and active team like the Thunder because they poke the ball out constantly. They apply a lot of pressure from help side defense. It's just not a good strategy whatsoever. They didn't learn that. They actually came out being the better team. Minnesota came out looking like the better group, but then ultimately kept playing that bullshit ball. It got easy. The Thunder fed off of it. Shea was hot as hell all night shooting the ball as much as he was just grifting. And so ultimately they just couldn't stop the avalanche. That Oklahoma City crowd gets loud as shit. It is a small arena, but they do get loud as shit. So, you got to just understand that the Thunder are a young and experienced team. I think secretly for me, I'm a little bit rooting against the Thunder, but hold on, Thunder fans, here's why. I'm just excited for the potential move it would force the Thunder to make this offseason and then make them a more interesting team next year. I just don't think they're that interesting right now. There's a very young team.
What's that move?
Go ahead, Caesar.
I was going to say, what do you think that move is? There's some basketball romantic that would love to see KD be the final.
Yeah, I mean,
we got so many options.
So
we're gonna make a move.
So yeah, I mean, obviously Giannis is probably going to be anybody's dream target and should be. But realistically, if it was me, I would love to plug Kevin Durant in on this roster. I'm not exactly sure, what it would look like, how they could pull it off. But I think with the spare parts alone, they wouldn't have to sacrifice the entire core. And then it's just about getting rid of those trade chips. And it's like, look, I get it, Sam Presti, but, it's your guy. Like, you're getting your guy back with your kids that you grew up. Like, what could be cooler? You're not relying on Durant in a way that another team might. I just think it would be fun. But maybe that's just me being nostalgic.
I would love that personally.
I think a lot of people would. I think again, the NBA is going into a very interesting year next year.
Have his own LeBron moment coming back to the city where he sort of started in.
The hardest road. The hardest road.
He is a hell of a road, is what I'd call it.
The long and winding road.
The long and winding road.
Long, strange trip it's been. Sorry.
I would say let me see. I'm just trying to salary match. Okay, I can salary match with Lou Dort, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, Usman Dang, and Nikola Topic. And realistically, those are all 5 interesting players, and they're all good salaries that could be, utilized in other things. I'm not saying that's the trade, but just for it to involve all of those guys who I think are valuable players to have, all of those guys who are not on bad contracts at all, 2 of them on incredible contracts if they pan out. I think arguable that Deng just may not be a guy. Topic is basically you would be getting as a rookie because he was redshirted as an injury this year. So that's a really interesting one. He was a top 5 potential pick before he got injured.
Just
So
feels way too rash for Presti.
it is, but again, I'm giving you a trade that only takes 2 guys you're using off of this current roster. That's almost hard to pass up. You don't have to get rid of any of the young talent. And you maybe even can do a different trade that doesn't involve one of those guys or 2 of those guys if you feel that they're better use or a better fit. And again, you're Oklahoma City. You have all the picks in the world. So you do have the ability to sort of come in there and not worry about having to throw Jalen Williams into the trade. Keeping all of these guys, I don't know. It's a dream scenario, I think, for almost any of us romantics about it. But, ultimately, I think Kevin Durant probably has some other places that'll be interested. Philadelphia, Houston, San Antonio. I don't know why not. Miami, I'm certain, will be in the conversation. Or, maybe there's a world where they figure out a way to move off of Bradley Beal's contract and try to salvage the Pacers or the Suns to some extent. Yeah, I mean, look, the Porzingis contract was the way to figure it out. Like that, when the Mavericks dumped that contract, that wasn't revolutionary, but it was sort of the first time that it was like almost obviously seeing someone break $1 for 75 cents just to get their books back in order. You know what I mean? And so I think there's something like that. It's just the no trade clause makes that even harder.
Well, near impossible.
Well, I don't think near impossible. I do think Bradley Beal might have more desire to be out of Phoenix than he did prior. So I do think that if it's a decent enough destination,
Can they not just buy him out?
no,
Can't
it's
afford
still
to
a
do that?
couple more years, brother.
You can't talk him into. Yeah, I guess he wouldn't take the pay cut.
I mean, Bobby Bonilla, unless there's some medical stuff coming.
Can you just pay him not to play?
I mean, that's what they basically were doing for a lot of the
I
season.
mean, like, don't show up. You're not on.
But
the
then-
team,
but then-
you're still collecting.
He's
your
still in the
money.
books.
but then,
Yeah,
your
but-
books are completely wrecked.
But it doesn't help the team.
So yes, here is the status of the contract. Next year they will be paying him just under $54 million,
Just under. Okay.
and then the next year there is an option on that contract, and if that option was picked up, they would be paying him just over $57 million that year. And
Hell
guess
yeah.
whose option it is? So guess
His.
what, boys? That option is going to get picked up.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, look, I think you can break that contract up into like 2 mediocre players, Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans, get something out of it, and reset your books moving forward. You know what I mean?
But how do you get him to move?
Again, I do think that's more plausible than it was in the regular season. I think after how this season went, I think it's very plausible that he can get talked into playing somewhere else, even if it's like Utah for a year. Like
I don't know why he's so committed to staying there, but
well, it's not.
Seems
I think
to be.
it's. I don't think it is. It's just more or less like he doesn't just want to uproot his family again. And I do think it was more of an in-season thing where he had to uproot his family in the season, not in the off season. And I do think that was a little bit of the reaction that people were kind of missing out on. I think he was more or less pissy about it happening during the season. So I do think that there's possibility. I mean, I don't think Washington would do it necessarily, but it is funny to think about like figuring out a way for the Wizards to take that money back. But anyway, Knicks Pacers on the other side of this thing. It's about midway through the third quarter right now. Very tight
Carlisle
game.
versus Jalen Brunson.
Jalen Brunson, Rick Carlisle, Knicks Pacers, another extension of the '90s lore. That's fun to see. Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Brunson, you guys actually can both. This is part of y'all's specialty every now and again. They're both wrestling nerds. Tyrese Halliburton actually going to be a playable character in the next WWE game.
That is so fucking. I saw that. It's so funny.
I mean, good for his marketing team. Excellent job.
Some of the reaction that I saw to the announcements, like, I don't even play wrestling games, but I'm gonna buy this game just so I can kick his ass. I'm like, that's.
No, my head immediately went to whoop ass as Tyler Halliburton, not
No, and honestly, I think that's probably the funny Tyrese. I think that's honestly one of the funniest parts about this Caesar is that's why it's great marketing. Is the kid knows he's kind of a heel.
Yeah,
he knows he's going to be able to lean into
man.
it. So I appreciate it.
He's 100% a heel, and the fact that now you can just bank on that shit, that's incredible. But shout out to the WWE for predicting that this would be the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, and then they both appeared together on an episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure Brunson hurt his hand actually during one of these episodes. His hand got stepped on.
Scotty Scheffler's at the game.
Yeah. So, look, Adam sent an email out to everybody. He said, "Don't let this one go. Don't let this. Just put this one down. We're not talking about this. What we should be talking about is race wars and how it's going to bring the WNBA all the money it can handle."
Oh my God!
We've
out.
got about 10 minutes left in the second quarter, and I don't know if this is going to take all 10 minutes, but good Lord, it's taken a lot of time and effort out of the first week of the WNBA season. So
yeah, it got football dudes being corny on.
Oh yeah, and honestly, that's kind of the most interesting part of it is the football dudes aspect of this.
Ryan Clark, RG3 nonsense.
Got very
and
very
LaShawn McCoy at Dez.
I didn't even see Dez got into it, but I'm not surprised.
So people just pushing for those clicks.
Yeah, exactly. So WNBA's back. That's good. We've talked about the local girl, Paige Buchers. We'll be happy to have her as long as she's here. Or Beckers. I always say Buchers because
there's a U in it, but
yeah, it's
Beckers is the way I've heard it.
It's Paige Buckets. That's
it is Buckets.
Currently down 9 in the fourth quarter.
And that's good because the Wings are going to be bad this year. Arike Ogunbowale has already had a couple of tough ones. Hopefully she's bounced back tonight. But interesting decisions to make for the franchise. But at least, hey, here's the new shiny toy for this season.
31 minutes, 12 points on 3 of 9 shooting.
1
assists, 1 turnover, 3 steals.
Oh, no, that is good. Okay, that's good. Arike wanting to play point guard. That's incredible, actually. But we'll keep monitoring.
Paige Becker, sorry.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. What's Arike looking like?
29 minutes, 15 points on 6 of 16, 3 of 10 from 3, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, turnover, steal.
Oh, right.
2 fouls.
I don't care. Arike's always going to be our franchise original GOAT. Paige might be better eventually or sooner than later, who knows? But Arike's always going to be nostalgia for us, diehard Wings fans. Yeah, but otherwise, the Indiana Fever are going to be a big topic conversation. Caitlin Clark, obviously. Of course, the WNBA was smart, put the Sky and the Fever up against each other on the second day of the regular season. So not even 48 hours into the regular season, a flagrant one was assessed, and the rest of the world has not been the same since.
Apparently. Which is crazy because I don't watch much of the W, and I've definitely seen harder fouls than that.
No, it's not a soft league whatsoever. Like the men's league is far softer than the W. I think anyone would agree. Now, you might see a harder fall or a harder collision in the men's sports, but
more kinetic energy happening.
More kinetics, but the ladies get absolutely chippy very regularly, very very regularly. But yeah, so ultimately this ends up going into a lot of different conversations. I guess RG3 starts trying to grift on Outkick.com or whatever platform he's on now. And ultimately Ryan Clark ends up being a little frustrated with them. I thought had some really good words to say. I don't know whether it's his place or not is what it is.
I've got some issues with his points.
Well, which ones, I guess?
Well, he's like, "Oh, your wife's white, so you can't understand." It's like, so RG3
Well, no,
has-
no, he
RG3
definitely
has
said
no
more than
other-
just that.
RG3 has no other women in his life he could talk to.
Well,
Well,
no,
I
he
think
he
just
pointed
did.
out that he had a white fetish, not just that
Yeah,
his wife is
and I
white.
think that he was really also referring to the fact that
She was
RG3
in the
has
back of
almost
the video.
diminished the women in his life because apparently it's wife number 2 now, which I didn't even realize was a thing. But it was more or less like, you know, anytime he talks about it, it's just the race, you know, it's kind of weird. Like imagine if a white girl was running around, you know, you can see that on social media, Facebook. Go to Facebook, go to trashy Facebook, and you know you can find the reverse, and it's really weird and it's awful. And you're just like, what is happening to society right now? You know what I mean?
Maybe the main issue is I don't hear about RG3 unless someone's telling me about something RG3 did.
Yeah, and I mean he's shameless, right? And he's trying to get attention, and that was what Ryan Clark was addressing. And I thought that was fine, but then apparently Ryan Clark, his first daughter, I believe, was her mother is a white woman, and so that obviously sparked a lot more of this. And so, look, all it was essentially Robert Griffin just, you know, he's doing what the W wants. By the way, he's doing what they want. They want the attention from these
Aggregating
people.
content, yeah.
Yeah, they want this attention. I mean, I hate to admit that they're using the Stern formula, but they are. It's clearly
It's not even
like
Stern formula. It's just how media
you-
works.
you got to give Stern the credit because I mean, it's well documented that he knew what he was doing with Larry and Magic. He knew very well what he was doing, and I think the W understands that Caitlyn and Angel might be the 2, but Angel represents the vast majority of the W. And I do think that, you know, the girls are also frustrated with Caitlin Clark, and it's not even her fault, right? Like, Asia Wilson's the best player in the game. Naficia Collar's the second best, if not the best, I mean, depending on how you feel about it. And Caitlin Clark is probably just now in the top 10 after a season, which is still incredible. But ultimately, for her to be the most notorious WNBA player has got to be a little frustrating for those folks as well.
That's fine.
And I think that's part of it. So that's just all of this in a nutshell. And obviously bad people are going to use this to take it bad places. I guess it's good to have eyes on the W. It's incredible that it's made this much news in week 1. But hang in for the rest. It'll be fun. I think that the Valkyries are new. So we've got a new team. I think they have an odd number of, I think they have 13 now. I think there's 13 teams in the league now. And 14 comes next year.
Virginia?
What?
Where are the Valkyries at?
Oh, Golden State. Yeah.
Oh,
Golden.
okay.
So Golden State Valkyries and Toronto.
Who would be a Valkyrie?
And then we get the Toronto Tempos next year.
Terrible, terrible name.
It's decent branding, although I wonder if New Balance is
Tempos
going to
with an
send.
S?
I think it's just Tempo, actually.
That would make more sense, but it's still not great.
Yeah, just Tempo. Yeah, it definitely looks like they stole New Balance's logo. But anyway, so that's basketball, and that is
making a metronome. What are they doing?
the wind up to the end of the quarter. We're heading to halftime. Any last minute field goals to put some extra points on the board?
No, fam. I pulled my hamstring in that last one. I need to go to the trainer's office.
You need to get ready because fourth quarter's coming fast.
Yeah, they'll shoot me up with something. Don't you worry about it.
Ayo.
Shoot me up with something.
All
And
right.
with that, we'll head in to halftime.